through that series of events, I've learned to just focus on whatever I've got to for the next 5 minutes and make that decision and do that right. And then 5 minutes later, I'll have something else to deal with.
We are back with Dean Owen. We've been learning all about the incredible hydrogen technology that he's developing and working with his team, his partners. Unbelievable technology innovation that we're hearing about. What incredible game-changing aspects it has for the world as we know it. My curiosity is, Dean, as you think about what you've been up to, and obviously seeing this rapid technological advancement happening in real time in your own life, if you were to cast a vision a little bit forward into the future and thinking about what's coming, what's happening outward into the near and distant future, and we were to relate that back to the people watching today, and an entrepreneur is watching us, they're in business, they're a little bit fearful or scared of some of these rapid changes that we're seeing. What would you share with them? What advice would you give them about the changes that you see happening?
They are going to change the world for the betterment of humanity in ways that we cannot imagine at this point. AI has killed some jobs. The first jobs it killed was online tutors because Khan Academy is free and it tailors its learning style to each child's individual learning style. So how is that going to change education? How is this world going to change when every kid in the world has an internet connection from Starlink and an iPad and a free education? And that is tailored, custom tailored for them. How many more Elon Musk are there in the world that never got a chance to go to school? There's more than a few. He's not the only one. There's only one guy that they've made one of. Everybody else has got, the rest of us are common. What's that going to do for people in countries like Iran and China where there's heavy censorship? Because Elon Musk doesn't let people censor. You think we'd live in an age where one guy can give an order and change the outcome of a war in another continent by simply changing the coordinates on some satellites. What's happening in the biospace, is absolutely incredible. We're probably going to see life expectancy at 130 years by the end of this decade. And I have some very, very serious people that I would not cross have said that's what's going to happen. AI will be largely a force for good, just like some of the stuff on the internet's bad. Mostly it's a force for good. And that's the human condition. That's how we live. You either believe in the goodness of mankind or you don't. And if you do, then you have to be optimistic because the stuff I've seen when I'm deep in the bowels of Silicon Valley, behind locked gates and closed doors and privacy fences is absolutely amazing. I have met someone who their cholesterol problem is gone because of a shot. Met someone else who their high blood pressure is gone because of a shot. Those technologies, they had to get through the testing and all that stuff. But now there are thousands of drugs today we did not have 2 years ago because of AI. And, if you've got an extremely, extremely, extremely rare disease, nobody will study it. There's no money there. You can't pay for the research. You can't pay for the development. Now we can. It used to take $1 billion to get a drug to market, and through FDA testing, that's going to come down to about $10,000. So how many people are going to be cured of insanely small number of victims? There's going to be career change, just like when the 90s, I had to bounce from Cooper's and then Price Waterhouse to something else. And then I've had to bounce from Air Products to something else. And I was fearful then. But this doesn't have any fear. There's no fear in me about this. I'm just wildly curious, amazement at the just beautiful, wonderful things that are coming. And how does that relate to an entrepreneur? If you're getting started, one, I praise you. Yes, absolutely. Whatever I can do to help you, I will. But you got to believe in yourself. You got to believe in your teams. You got to believe the best of your customers and what's going on. There's going to be hard times. There's going to be competition. That's how we make each other better as we compete. And so welcome competition. Welcome new technology. Welcome new things. Don't be afraid to ask a question. Well, we always did it this way. Okay. You need to still always do it that way. Maybe not. And just approach things from a position of positivity and with respect and curiosity. And then the whole new world opens up. You start to see things you would not have seen the other day. Um, here in my backyard is a guy named Jim DeFew. He's one of the world's best motorcycle builders and painters. I adopted him and Pat as my parents 20 years ago. But you got one of the best motorcycle builders in the world right here in my backyard. And you've got them in your backyard too. You've got people that are incredibly innovative. You've got people who are just changing the world, and they're in your backyard. You're not going to see that on the local news. You're not going to see that on national news. Those people don't go out here and do stuff to get on TV. They go to work. They network. They trust. They lean in. They keep walking when they don't know exactly what they're supposed to be doing. But go out and find those people. Find them locally. Find them nationally. Get on thought leaders and who are optimistic and positive. Follow them. Let them be the ones that are putting stuff in your head and not the negative stuff. Enough of that happens, and you do that enough, and man, the world just changes. It becomes a wonderful, beautiful place. But you do have to believe in yourself. You got to believe in your teams. You got to believe that, one, you're not all that. None of us are. But with faith, he says that he will answer our dreams if answer our prayers if they're asked with honor and dignity. Ask, believe. I tell people, and because I've got every person on my team is a human being, and we all have the feelings of human beings. But whatever we seek, we find, good or bad. When we knock, doors are opened, good or bad. When we ask, we're given, good or bad. What are you seeking? What doors are you knocking on? What are you asking for? Because that's what you're going to get, one way or the other. So make sure to be very conscientious about what you seek, what doors you knock on, and what you ask for. And it really is that simple. And yet, I know it's got to be terribly complex in how all that stuff works, but it's really just that simple. I don't have to understand it. A lot of people get upset because they don't understand something. And who are we to think that we're entitled to understand everything? Thinking I'm entitled to understand everything is the most arrogant idea I could ever possibly imagine. I don't get an understanding. Maybe one day I'll get it. Maybe I won't. But just because I don't understand something doesn't mean I can't lean into it. When Jared started with this hydrogen, I didn't understand it. But I trust him. I know he's a serious enough professional that he's not going to bite off on something that's not going to work. And when he tells me something's going to work, I know he's telling me the truth. So trust. Danielle, I get it. She had to have verification because she's leading other people, and they're going to need validation. So okay, get them validation. Do your part to show what you can do. And it's a beautiful place. We do have a major labor shortage. So if you're willing and able to go do something, there will be customers. Be it every trade in the world's looking for more help, or at least in America. When we talk about Mexico, there's 2/3 as many accountants in Mexico as there is in America, and our economy is 12 times the size. But they don't abort their babies in Mexico. We've aborted 60 million babies out of a workforce of about 200 million. This is what that looks like. There's a spiritual price for that, but there's also an economic price. Nowhere else in the world has any nation ever aborted their babies like we have in America. So we've got some things to think through.
It's interesting you mentioned, of course, that you can't possibly know it all. And I mean, it reminds me of my mentor, R. Nelson Nash, who says that there's no such thing as having arrived in knowledge. There's always something new to learn. As soon as you think that you know it all, you might as well pack it in, because you've basically decided to give up at that point, and you've lost the inspiration to learn. And what you've demonstrated for us in your conversation, what you've shared with us on all the innovations that you're presently working on, Dean, is that you are an advocate for that curiosity, because you've demonstrated curiosity taking place in your life at various stages and moving you forward, always putting one foot in front of the other. And I think that's an important lesson for our listeners to take away. What is also interesting is you talked about some of the health things that you've seen, behind closed doors, things that you've witnessed, and the changes that are happening. And of course, there's NDAs, or sometimes we can't talk about the things that we're aware of. But I know I was at an event recently in Nashville, and I got to see some images of someone who'd had their knee cartilage regrown, someone in their early 80s, and they've basically regrown a knee that almost had nothing left in it. So they're going to be able to now start to run again, relive a joy that they used to have. I also saw a disc in a spine that had been regrown where its spinal area had been fused together essentially. And so these are the types of technologies that are coming available. Are they in mass availability for the general population? No, not yet. But it's only a matter of time as they begin to become more and more popularized, and there's more energy and technology and brain power working on these initiatives.
We live in mankind's golden age, and it will only get better from here. And you got to believe that. Now, do people have tough situations? Yes, absolutely. We all do. Anybody says we don't have tough situations is lying. But you get through those, and get on the other side of it and keep moving and make the right decision right now. And that's all you need, and just keep your head down, have faith, and approach with curiosity, respect, and amazement. And, the world is a wonderful place if you'll take time to stop and see it.
The idea of, turning off the news, I think, is something that I hope people really take away from our discussion today. Like you, I've gotten rid of the news. I focus on certain aspects, and I listen to a lot of great podcasts. Of course, being someone who hosts a podcast, maybe there's a draw for me there. I'm not sure, but I really do find that, especially in environments that are focused on those newer technologies, and not just newer technologies, the curious mindset of people, the entrepreneurs of tomorrow. Fundamentally, the entrepreneur is here to solve problems. They find problems and they figure out ways to solve them. And then new things are created that otherwise wouldn't be. And with what you're doing, you're in that space of creating new things with your teams. And you've shared some of those with us today. And for that, I'm very grateful. And for our listeners, I hope you're going to take away some of the incredible, powerful innovations that are happening in real time in our world, and how Dean and people like Dean are out there making it happen, and you can make it happen as well. And with that in mind, stay tuned for next week's episode of Innovate and Overcome.